There are many technically brilliant things in Ponniyin Selvan 1 to watch and enjoy. The music, the BGM, of course, A.R. Rahman, the cinematography, the VFX, the sets, the locations, the costumes, the performances, even the screenplay and the editing are very engaging. And overall, all these technically brilliant aspects are clearly visible on screen, and definitely people are going to be inspired by those things and are going to enjoy watching the visual treat that the film has to offer. However, in spite of all those technically brilliant things, the film, in terms of the core concept, story, and relatability, emotions, and all of that, is going to be dividing the audiences into two parts. One, I think the primary Tamilians who have watched, who have read this actual book, who have heard about this growing up, who know this story for years and years now, and have imaginations in their head of what this should be if it becomes a movie, and finally to see that on screen and to be exactly like they think, which is what I'm hearing, is absolutely commendable. This could have gone so many different ways. So if Mani Ratnam has achieved that for the people who have dreamt about this becoming a movie, who have heard this all their life and have their own set of projections of characters, what they look like, what they talk like, how they interact, how some of the key situations are shown on screen and depicted on screen, I think Mani Ratnam has lived up to those expectations. However, from anybody else across the globe who has not at all heard about this story, does not know anything about it, has not read it, it is going to be a very difficult task for those audiences to connect and relate to the characters in the movie. The reason is, and that's me, one of them, and the reason is there is no baselining and build up of the characters. It is straight up in every character in the movie, straight up they just tell you what the character is, and there is no build up. And even in the full movie, there is no sort of how do I identify with this character and what about this character do I like or dislike, and why should I relate or care about them, and what is next. There's no such thing. There's very limited aspects of that. It is almost as saying this is the prince, this is the queen, this is the princess, this is the king. We don't know what they did all their lives and what good things they've done, what bad things they've done, what good and bad things they continue to do. We barely understand. And it's just like this is what's happening and this is how they're talking to each other, and this is what is going to be the story in the second part. I feel like the full first part was a introduction to the characters without actually building the characters, by just showing certain things about them and then saying now let's go to part 2. And so for me, that relatability and connectivity with the characters wasn't there. I don't know, and I think that most people who do not understand the book, have not read the book and heard about these stories, will just wonder what exactly, who to support or what to vouch for, where to get emotional, what to get emotional about. It's very difficult. There are some ups and downs in this movie, no spoilers, but I never felt myself getting emotional at all about anything or feeling anything. I was just like, all of these characters could die and I would not really know what to think. Not that I would feel good, not that I would feel bad. I would just not know, because all entire movie in terms of the characters, I was just watching things unfold on screen with no emotion and no support or nothing. And this applies to every single character. There was just not enough done there to be a relatability factor. Most other films, especially in the Indian film industry, 99% of films always build the characters so you can connect with them and go on their journey. There was no such thing happening here. In addition to this aspect of it, from a generally a screenplay and a writing perspective, in the first half I felt they have definitely spent way too much time on certain things that really don't matter. If this is such a big book and such a big novel and there's so much to cover, then a 5 to 7 or 10-minute chase sequence with Karthi and such other sequences was not really necessary and did not really add value to my understanding of the movie itself without knowing anything about the book. So some of those things in the first half definitely felt like they were just spending time on the wrong parts of the story, and they could have spent it on more interesting, engaging aspects that would drive the story forward. So the whole first movie, Ponniyin Selvan, just sort of sets up the stage, the characters and their sort of interactions and how they might know each other or how they might interpret each other, influence each other, talk to each other, deal with each other in the past or in the present. What exactly, are they part of the same universe? That is what the whole movie does, but no real story yet. And the story is saved for the second part. So, that to me is definitely a weakness, although I understand that that is the approach. But for a non Tamil audience, that approach makes the film kind of worthless. It makes it just like, well, you should have done this in the first half and started doing a crazy story element in the second half and made us engaged. By making the full movie like this, it is difficult. For example, Ponniyin Selvan himself appears only after the interval. We know nothing about him and he appears after the interval. Then at some point after the interval, maybe like 30 minutes after the interval, the Karthi character finally talks to him. So many things are delayed that should have, pulled forward in the first half, according to me. So overall, this was a very, I would say, a straightforward experience. There was nothing good or bad, and it's just more sort of a very neutral experience of, I watched something, I watched a bunch of characters, as I said, beautiful technicals and all of that. And I think, there's a lot of effort and good performances and everything, but I didn't take away anything from the film. I didn't take away any story. I didn't take away any eagerness to watch part 2. I didn't enjoy, or I didn't get surprised by the climax and the sort of cliffhanger, if you call it a cliffhanger. There was nothing surprising. It was totally predictable. And so there was nothing in the movie to walk out from and to walk into the second part. So with that said, and the money spent and the amount of research done and so many years taken for this movie, I would have expected Mani Ratnam sir to implement the movie and make it in a way that even non-Tamilians understand. Since it is a pan-India release and a pan-world release, it is not something that only released in the Tamil film industry that we can sit here and complain about. It released in all languages. You've taken all that effort to make it pan-India, but somewhere the storytelling was not thinking about that and was thinking only about the novel itself and how people have interpreted it thus far in Tamil Nadu and what they think and how they imagine the characters to be. And that is good, because it's good for them. I'm just saying for the others, I'm not so sure that this film is going to work. So only for the craft and the technicals and all the things that I mentioned were good. I think this film does deserve 3 stars, but if it had a better story, engaging characters that are relatable, and a storytelling that would make anyone who has never ever heard about this book be engaged and involved and invested in the movie, then it would have got a 4 or 5, but it's a 3 for now. Let me know your thoughts and comments below. If you have known and read about this book, what is your perspective? If you did not know anything about the book, what is your perspective? And you could have different perspectives from me. Obviously, that is why we are here to talk, discuss, and comment about films. So leave your thoughts and comments below. Like, share, subscribe, and keep watching for much, much more.